Welcome back to my box fan build. In this video, I'm going to install my gray tank and actually use my plumbing. You know, I got to thinking again. I built my whole van around my water tank, my water heater, and all of my plumbing components, and I've never put a drop of water in any of them. It'll be fine. So in the last video, I installed my shower and I cut a gaping hole in the floor, and I need to sort of box that in underneath the van. But right underneath where that is, this is going to sit. This is a 15-gallon gray tank, Undermount tank. It can be used for anything, but I'll be using it for gray water. It has a sump, this little lower portion here, and that's where all the hookups are. And it's gonna fit pretty damn good where I'm gonna put it, and I'll show you. It's just about an inch or two longer than I need it to be, really, just because it's gonna kind of crash into the fuel filler neck for the gas tank for the van. But it'll still fit, it's just gonna be kind of a tight fit. On the bottom and the top, there's an 1.5-inch opening and then a little 1/2-inch opening. And what I'm gonna do is use the 1.5 on the top for the fill where the shower pan and the sink drain into, and then on the bottom with the 1/2-inch is going to be my drain for the tank. I've got some 1.5 Schedule 40 PVC, and then I have some 1-inch braided vinyl tubing. This is going to be the shower drain. The sink drain, I believe, is 3/4. So I went and picked up some things. I've got all kinds of fittings here. So what I got is this T that's 1.5 down to 1 inch. And then I've got on the end of it, I have a bushing that goes to 1 inch. And then another bushing that's 1 inch down to 3/4. So what that's going to enable me to do is use these barbed fittings. So I've got a 3/4 barbed elbow, and this will be the sink drain. And then I have a 1-inch straight barbed elbow. Actually, that's 3/4. I bought elbows and straights for both, just so I can have options. But here I've got a 1-inch barbed fitting, and this will be for the shower drain. And then coming off of that, I have a drain waste vent 90, which will go into the fitting that came with the gray tank for the fill. So you're gonna have your threaded MPT 1.5-inch PVC fitting that came with the tank right off here, an elbow, and then this contraption. And that's how I'm gonna fill the tank. And then for the drain, what I'm gonna do is I looked everywhere for a 1/2-inch PVC boiler drain, which is basically 1/2-inch on one side and then 3/4 garden hose adapter on the other side. And I could not find one. They make CPVC, which is a smaller diameter, and I didn't want to go that route. So what I've got here is an actual brass silcock, and I'm going to modify the side of the van box where this will live on it recessed in, and this will be where I hook up my discharge hose to drain my gray tank with. And the back of this is 1/2-inch, and then what I'm gonna do is put a barbed elbow on it. And then I'm gonna have a short piece of vinyl tubing running between this and the gray tank. That way, if either component gets damaged somehow, hung up on something, which I'm gonna recess this into the van, so it shouldn't but there'll be a flexible connection between this and the tank. So hopefully it'll never damage the tank by ripping the fitting out of the tank. And then for the drain hose for this, when I go to drain my gray tank, it's just a different hose than the one I bought to fill my freshwater tank with. So I can distinguish the dirty hose from the clean hose. So this is for draining my gray tank. I have a different hose to fill the freshwater with. And the hose for my freshwater, I'll show you later in the video, is specially designed to it's safe for drinking water, basically. So this is my dirty hose, and I have a clean hose. Now for the bottom of this tank, like right here, I'm going to install this, which is a tank heater. It's a 12-volt just heating pad that you just peel and stick right onto the bottom of the tank. And it just has a little coil in it. That way, if I'm in freezing conditions, I can thaw out my gray tank. Because everything else, except for the little bit of drain hose that's coming through the floor going into this tank, is going to be inside the van. So the idea here is just to keep my gray tank from freezing if I decide to be in a freezing cold area, which, you know, I really don't plan on doing. But it comes with a little switch, and I will be wiring this up with a relay. So the first thing I need to do is box in the area that I cut out on my floor under the shower, install this hose on the shower, and then I'm going to undercoat that whole area before I install this tank. And I've got a whole gallon of tractor paint. Okay, this is essentially what I got going on. I temporarily stuck the hose on there so I can take some measurements. So what I'm going to do is measure my height of this versus the floor supports, and then I'm going to measure this area here, and then I'm going to box this in and then put plywood underneath. So I'm building a little like lowered floor essentially, and then I'm going to get that the framework put on, pull this hose back off, and then paint everything around here with tractor paint, side walls, just everything I can get to, and then put this hose back on, put the piece of plywood on, and then start working on mounting the gray tank itself. Paint it black, hit the track. Alright, it's the next day, everything's nice and dry. I went ahead and put the hose on. So what I did here is I made 2 layers, a 1/2 inch and a 5/8 layer of little plywood strips to build a border around this. And then I cut this piece of 1/2 inch ply and then painted both sides of it, and it's the perfect size to tuck in the floor support here, and then it just boxes in this little area like that. And this is totally unnecessary, but I feel good about it. It's just you know, adds a little extra bit of durability, I guess. And then this outlet here for the hose, I'm not going to fill that or seal that with anything. That way, if the shoe leaks, it'll have somewhere to go. It can run out that way. So I'm gonna screw this thing on and then drill a hole and run my sink drain out the box. And then we'll figure out mounting the tank. I've decided that I'm going to replace this drain hose with the same braided vinyl tubing that I'm using on everything else. Mostly because the end of it doesn't have a... This is basically a dishwasher drain hose. It's made to be super like flexible and stuff, but I just don't like it. So it is 3/4 is the size. So I'm just gonna go get a like 4-foot piece of 3/4 vinyl. But for the time being, I'm going to drill a hole right down there in the corner. I checked underneath and I know that there's nothing interfering with that right there, so that's the plan. Alright, that's where it came out. So, just gonna kind of stick that over here for now. I've got both hoses kind of as out of the way as possible. Next step is to fit the tank. Just kind of stick it up there. See how it's going to fit. I'm going to try to get it as tight to that front wall as I can and as high up as I can. Right where these floor supports are, I'm going to put some sort of insulator there, you know, like a strip of rubber. And then I'll figure out how to hang this thing. I've got a few options, but I'll just figure out something practical and easy. Okay. Look at this. She's full. I think that's a first for me. All right, here's where I'm at so far. I'm just kind of building as I go. Basically, I've created like a cradle for the tank. It should protect, I mean, the sump is exposed, but it should protect the tank from, you know, any whatever's underneath. Just kind of a crudely put together frame. I just have it tacked right now. This side just kind of overlapping. I'm not going to weld there, you know. And because the sump is exactly 1 inch deeper than the rest of the tank, I made it where it's just two layers of 1/2 inch plywood. So I'll paint all of this with tractor paint when I'm done, and you know, screw it all together and stuff, but it should be pretty good. But what I'm going to do now is kind of put it up under the van and then figure out mounting points. So these two sides here and then in the back are going to be easy because the box of the van is there. This side here, there's going to be nothing going on there. And then over here, I'm just going to locate, I think it's about right here-ish, where the floor support to the van is. And then all around in probably 5 locations, I'm going to build a little tab, weld a little extra piece of metal up off the angle, and then drill a hole in that, and that will be how I mount or hang the tank with. So that's what I'm going to do now, is just kind of roughly mark out places to weld on extra tabs for mounting. loud. Hot. All right, it's gonna take like all night for that to dry, so I won't be installing the tank until tomorrow. It's the 4th of July. I'm not celebrating, but just so you know, I haven't afforded myself the luxury of being able to film my videos in advance yet. I still have to pay off the van, so I work a lot. So I have this heater. I'm just gonna stick it to the bottom of the tank. It's kind of thick, so it's kind of gonna mess up my mount that I just made just a little bit, but it'll be fine. And then I did go and buy some 3/4 braided vinyl tubing for my sink drain, because not only does the stuff that it came with kind of suck, in my opinion, but it's not long enough anyway. So I'm gonna go put this on and stick this on right now. And what I've decided to do is just kind of put it right here, kind of close to the sump. And that, in theory, would kind of help the heat maybe go up the drain pipes as well. So kind of just like that, I guess, is my idea. Or I could go dead center with it. What would you recommend? I mean, really, if I'm trying to use my tank, I want this side of it to be thawed. So I'm just gonna kind of put it more towards the sump side. Yeah, this is literally just a coil. Yeah, it's like basically like heat tapes for your plumbing or something. I grew up in a trailer, so stuff like this I'm pretty familiar with. I mean, I was kind of born for RV life, to be honest. And I will wrap the drain tubing with pipe wrap where it comes out of the van, just to give it that extra little bit of insulation. All right, I'm gonna go install this. I'll show you. All right, I switched to plumber's strap because these other straps were too small now, because this has an outer diameter of 1 inch. If anything's gonna leak, it's gonna be this. And I do have plumber's putty, just in case that's the case. So the heater also comes with this funky tape that you're supposed to put around the edges of it. It's pretty serious stuff. And I'm gonna have some extras. I think what I'll do is use this to tape the wire on after I figure out where that's gonna go. I just gotta kind of get everything mounted and then set that up accordingly. Yeah, this stuff's like really sticky. Man, I'd love to buy a whole roll of this stuff. I'm gonna figure out exactly what product this is. That's nice. I sealed that with some quad because it's going directly into the living space. Over here, like I mentioned, I am not sealing this. That way, if the shower drain leaks, the water has somewhere to go. It won't just sit there and, you know, rot my floor. So, and bugs and crap won't really be able to get in the van there because the shower pan is right there. So, but here we got some quad, and I'm gonna let that cure. I got the hose roughly the direction it's gonna go. You know, the tank's gonna smash up on that a little bit when I install the tank, but both hoses are gonna come over this way, you know. Hola, ¿cómo está? Salut, ça va? Guten Tag, wie geht's? Hey, how's it going? I spent the night here at the shop while 4th of July raged on outside. It's nice and quiet in here, peaceful, air conditioned. This thing was dry by like 10 o'clock last night, but I was just too tired to do anything else. But here's kind of what's going on, and I'll admit I like really overbuilt this. This tab right here is going to go up and bolt to the floor support that happens to be right here under the van. I'm just going to have two like 1/4 inch bolts. I'm going to drill holes through this and the floor support, bolt it there. This little tab right here, I'm going to drill a couple holes in it, and it's going to bolt to the box on that side, on the front. And then over here, I made these two pieces here because it needs to stand off of the outside box, like about this much, because just there's bolts poking through for the trim and all of that. So I got this piece of wood. And the big idea here is I'm gonna bolt the bracket to this wood, drill holes and bolt it to it. And then this piece of wood is going to be screwed to the side of the box. So first thing I'm going to do is I got pipe wrap, like I've used on my ceiling and everywhere. I'm going to wrap up the tubing that's going to be above the tank with this before I like try to install the tank. Then I'm going to get it up there and kind of mark out some holes, figure out exactly where all this stuff's going to go. I'm going to drill holes in this. And, you know, it's pretty straightforward, but gonna just get this thing mounted. I'll show you, and then figure out the plumbing. All right, I got them kind of just past the fuel filler, and I put them above it, and then I insulated it there. So when I put the tank in, it's gonna be, you know, those will be kind of smushed and hidden with the tank in. And everything else I'll be able to access at any point. I just put some like PVC tape right where the floor supports are, the metal floor supports, because this is going to be smashed up against them. And I have all the like mounting points drilled and have bolts in them. The only thing left to do is mount this piece of wood to the van. So the plan is to get it up in there, get all these bolts started and kind of get it into position, and then just measure up where this piece of wood is. And I'm going to drill straight through the van into it. Before I go put the tank in the van, I'm going to cut out this opening right here. And then I do need to find some sort of plug to go into that because it won't be getting used. And then this bottom one here, I won't cut out because it will not be getting used. This is the exact same brand as my freshwater tank, which I don't quite recall what the brand is, but I'll put the link to this in the description. It don't need to be perfect, good enough. Measure and level. So, 1.25 inches. Perfect. Oh, too much. Right there. Okay, so we want right at 2. Right at 2. Okay. Yeah. And right here. And then right at 2. Oh, I almost forgot. That ain't going nowhere. So clearly that was excessive. If you're trying to hang a tank under your van, you don't need to go all out like I did and build a whole structure for it. I'm really happy with this though. That thing it's gonna last forever. You could just probably get a couple of like straps of metal or something and hang it pretty much how the gas tank's hung. You know, there are 2 floor supports right there. You just got to figure out a way to basically attach to them, which little bits of angle iron and drilling holes in it is, you know, a pretty good way to do that. There's other things you could do, like I manage office buildings and everything in an office building is hung inside the ceiling, and they use a lot of times they just use all thread, like threaded rod, and these little clamps that clamp onto the rafters and stuff, the joists. Anyway, if you're mounting a gray tank in a box fan like this, between the side of the box and the frame rail is definitely the place to do it, because it's wide open, other than like over here I had that fuel filler. But like inside of the frame rails of the van, you're going to run into the exhaust, the drive shaft, the fuel tank, like all the chassis components of the vehicle. So between the side of the box and the frame, definitely where you want to go. So all that's left now is the plumbing, basically, and wiring up that heater. And what I decided would be the easiest thing for me to do is run that wire across the bottom of the van, because I need it to get over to my power system. And that tank heater was an afterthought. I did not plan on doing that until recently. So I ran the circuits over to my kitchen for the water pump, the water heater, outlets, the kitchen light and porch light, everything on this side of the van. I already ran wires to and put them all in split loom and got them neatly ran over there. It would be a lot harder for me to try to run circuits or another circuit all the way through the van from the power system over to that tank heater. So what I'm going to end up doing, because on the other side I still need to run two like chassis ground wires down from my inverter and my solar controller to like the frame of the vehicle for safety, lightning strikes or whatever, surge protection. I have to drill a hole in the floor for those, and I'm also trying to run a piece of conduit from my power system to the cab, which is going to go under the floor between like my entry step and the frame of the vehicle. So no matter what, I got to drill a couple of holes on the driver or on the passenger side of the van by my power system. So what I'll do is, for now, I'm just gonna tie those wires up out of the way, and then soon, like within the next few weeks, when I get around to doing all that, then I will run those wires over to the power system in some split loom, and I'll wire them up with the switch and a relay. And I probably won't use the switch that came with the tank heater, just because I have 2 or 3 extra switches on the command center, which are pretty much the same thing. So it'd be a lot easier to just use one of those rather than like cut up my plexiglass some more just to have another switch that already says tank heater on it. So that's the plan. So for plumbing this thing up, this is going to screw into the top of the tank, and then I'm going to cut up this however I need to basically get this going on like so, and then hook up the tubing to it. If you've never done PVC before, I cut it with a hacksaw. Smaller stuff like inch or less, you can use a PVC cutter, which is just a blade, and you know. And then I got cement, and I spent an extra $1 on clear primer. I can't stand that purple primer. Like, I get the point of it, but you stain everything. It's the most annoying thing ever. You stain your fingers, you stain your clothes, it drips on the ground, you ruin everything with that stupid purple primer. So I like the clear stuff. So I'm gonna pretty much install this first, get under there, kind of fit some things, take some measurements, figure out exactly what I'm doing, and then put all this together. When you Teflon tape something, think about the direction that you're going to be screwing the fitting in. You want it to go where the end of it that you rip off like travels with the direction of your threads. Otherwise you just screw it all up when you go to screw something in. I worked with a guy once who would scuff up the PVC with emery cloth before gluing it. I thought that was a really good idea, so I've been doing it ever since. Just a little bit, you know. You're supposed to put your cement on before the primer dries. And then you want to hold it for a couple of seconds because it'll try to push itself back out because of like hydrostatic pressure. See, I made these two lines and then I lined them back up. PVC cement actually kind of like melts the PVC a little bit. It like bonds molecularly. One of you guys is a plumber and you're gonna comment on what I'm doing wrong here, but this stuff's forgiving. It hardly ever leaks, you know? Unless somebody's been using Drano. Because that stuff eats the glue, you know? So next I'm gonna glue these bushings in. And then I'll figure out exactly how far off of the tank I want this whole contraption to sit. And then I'll cut the last piece and get it on there. All right, all I got left to figure out is the drain. And I'm not totally in love with the idea of having this on my van. It just seems tacky. Plus, it's made for like pressurized water, so the opening in it is tiny. I mean, this is not the right part. And I know you're supposed to have a big, huge drain on your tanks, but I don't want to carry a big waste drain hose with me for this tiny little 15-gallon gray water tank. I mean, So I'm gonna go back to the drawing board on that. I'd like to have just something plastic, and I mean, I could just run like a close nipple off the tank and then have a drain right under there, and then you wouldn't see anything on the side of the van. So that might be what I do, but not with this, with something lightweight and more appropriate for the application. So I'm gonna shop around for that and get the drain done and then test my plumbing. I brought my tires here to the shop the other day when I showed up, and I took all the stuff out of my van and I left my hose and my filter and all my stuff to fill my plumbing with. I've decided, because it's 5 o'clock on Saturday right now, and I'm gonna be up all night editing this video for you guys. I do have another video filmed, but it's not edited either. So I've decided that this Wednesday's video coming up will be me testing my plumbing and showing you everything that leaks. So thanks for watching, I appreciate it. I have all kinds of shout outs this week. First of all, Tony, thank you so much for gifting me a Starlink dish. You are epic, you are a legend. Thank you so much, that is amazing. Tony emailed me and said this is his insurance that he will always get an upload from me, and you can bet on it. So thank you so much. Thank you to Just a Jer for stopping by the shop and gifting me a backpack full of goodies and fishing lures and stuff. That was very generous of you, and I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you. And also my apologies to Stephanie and Polly and Gypsy Crossroads for being unable to meet you when you were in my neck of the woods. I look forward to the next opportunity to meet up with you and say hi. So thank you to all my new Patreon members, Stevie Pants, Misan or Misan, Nicole, and Lizbeth. Thank you for joining my Patreon. I appreciate that. Thank you to Bonnie for your donation. I appreciate that very much. Thank you to Donna for the awesome gift of a cigar kit. That's very cool. I appreciate that a lot. You'll be seeing that in a video. Thanks to John for your continued generosity every week. I appreciate you, man. Stormy Steve, met you at the Lowe's. I was buying my drain hose for my sink, and Stormy Steve on YouTube came up and said hi to me. It was nice to meet you and your lovely wife. That was awesome. Jason Watson, Nettie, said you watch my videos, and I appreciate that. Thanks for your support. And then last but not least, Katie and Tommy DeLucia. Thanks for watching my videos, and I appreciate you guys. And thank you to all of you for subscribing to my channel and watching my videos. I will see you on Wednesday when I finally get this plumbing done. So stay tuned.